Hello and welcome to Art 171 Foundations of Art and Design with your host, Rick Bennett. Today we're going to talk about how to make successful art. And one way to make great art is to work often. Now today I'm using this word often in two different ways. The first way is literally to work often, and one way to do that is to do a lot of sketching. We'll talk more about sketching in a later class, but sketching is a great way to record what you see around you and to record the ideas that you have in your mind and combine them and keep a record and develop ideas for later projects. Sketching is a great way to communicate with yourself and others. Another great way to work often is with variations. For example, if you have an idea, I had an idea for a painting of a cat and a vase. So my original thought was to have the cat looking at the vase, seeing the full figure of the cat in the vase. Then I thought maybe I could change the point of view for a more close-up point of view, or I could have the cat facing the viewer, or I could have two cats in one vase, or I could have two vases and one cat. I could have a vase with a face of a cat, or even a vase with the face of a cat with a real cat looking at it. Or I could have a cat lying in the desert with a vase on a moonlit night with the stars and moon shining. Or I could have a vase that's the size of the Empire State Building with a small cat up on it swatting at airplanes. There's so many ways you can take an idea and develop it with variations, just as musical composers take a simple theme or melody and make many variations with it. When you work with variations, you'll find that you come up with ideas that were even better than your original idea. Along those lines, when you work with sketches or drawings or digital images, you can vary the color. Colors are very powerful tools. They help your work evoke emotion and get attention and get reaction from viewers and communicate your ideas and feelings. And it's easy, whether it's traditional media like sketching or digital media, to try lots of variations. Primary colors, secondary colors, analogous colors, neutral colors, intense colors. Different color combinations can really impact and change an image. Now the second way I'm using the word often is as an acronym, O.F.T.E.N, which stands for Observation, Focus, Time, Energy, and Nature. Nature here refers to your specific nature, your personality, your interests, your ways of expressing yourselves. And I'll talk about each one of these later, but today I do want to talk about the first one, O for observation. Observation involves looking, which we can all do, and seeing, which involves learning some specific skills. Seeing, the skills that we're going to work on in skiing are seeing proportion, seeing angles, seeing value, seeing color, and composition. Now it's a little hard to remember, so I came up with another mnemonic device. Pajamas are very comfortable clothes. And don't we all wish we had some pajamas like this? Proportion, angles, value, color, composition. Or penguins are very cool customers. Now to demonstrate what I'm talking about, the difference between looking and seeing, I'm going to ask my dog Momo here to demonstrate for us. So Momo, what do you see when you look out the window? You see a cow, oh my gosh, and you at home may be looking out your window and seeing a cow. But Momo, because she has a degree in art and design, is able to see a little more. She's able to see proportions and proportional relationships. For example, how many cows of the small cow would it take to equal the length of the big cow? Is it 3 to 1? Is it 4 to 1? How many of the big cows would it take if you turned it vertically to equal the amount of the grass that we see from top to bottom? When you learn to work with measurement and proportions, you can make much more accurate drawings and imaginary compositions. What else do you see out there, Momo? Oh yes, of course, angles. When we look out at the world around us, you may see lines or implied lines, and the angles refer to the relationship of these lines or implied lines to a completely flat horizontal line or a completely upright vertical line. For example, what is the slope of that hill there in the top left, and what is the slope of the land that's coming toward us in the foreground? What else do you see? Oh, of course, value. Value is dark and light, and the relationships or the hierarchy between the lightest elements and the darkest elements. For example, the lightest light, the darkest dark, and maybe the third and fourth darkest, how do those two relate? Which element do you see there that is the darkest? The third darkest and the fourth darkest. Working with value can help us create the illusion of light and shadow and volume on a two-dimensional picture plane. And value can also help us with composition and leading the viewer's eye through a visual work. We also, of course, want to look at color. Color is a very powerful way of adding interest and evoking emotion. You may look at this grass and see the color green, but when you learn to be more sensitive and work with colors, you can see there are bluer greens, there are greens that have more yellow, there are greens that have some reds or oranges mixed with them, there are more intense greens, there are more neutral greens. There's a whole range of colors. When we look at the white on the cow, you'll probably find if you compared it with pure white out of a tube of paint, it's not actually white. So seeing colors and learning to be more sensitive to color is one of the skills we'll work on and one of the most exciting aspects of making visual art. And finally, we look at composition, which is the arrangement of all these elements: color, shape, line, angles, proportions, visual weight. You can have a composition that is symmetrical, a composition that is balanced, a composition that's unbalanced. You can have relieved symmetry. And when you work with variations and compositional variations, you'll add a lot of interest and it'll add a lot of possibility to your vocabulary as a visual artist. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and tune in next time when we'll talk about how to measure and use proportional relationships. See you then. Have a good day.